another edition of the Contractor's Secret Weapon weekly podcast with your hosts, Dave Negri. This program is dedicated to helping contractors, remodelers, painters, roofers, roof cleaners, and business owners in the construction industry gain an unfair advantage over the competition. This program supplies you with information that the competition doesn't even know exists. This session brought to you by ContractorsSecretWeapon.com.
Before we get into the conversation with you, I just want to do a shout out to our sponsors who help promote Contractor's Secret Weapon and just some of the things that they have in store for you, our listeners. Hey, is your phone ringing enough? Do you want it to ring more with highly motivated and qualified buyers that contact you, the contractor, directly? No more waiting for the phone to ring. Just answer that phone. Best Home Services leads are dedicated to making your phone ring with motivated buyers that call you directly. There's no obligation to talk with them. Just go to ContractorsSecretWeapon.com/money. Fill out the form to secure your discount on the setup fee. Do it today. This special will not last forever. Check them out at ContractorsSecretWeapon.com/money.
Running a small business is no easy task, and I should know because I had a service company for almost 10 years. I am the founder of a software called Radius Bomb, and it's unbelievable. And for all the listeners of Contractor's Secret Weapon, we have a special offer for you to check out. If you want to send hyper-targeted, laser-focused, super personalized postcards to your exact prospects using a map while sitting in your underwear, then go to ContractorsSecretWeapon.com/Radius Bomb, and we'll give you your first 100 postcards for free. Just go to ContractorsSecretWeapon.com/Radius Bomb.
Hey, this is Dave Negri with Contractor's Secret Weapon. If you have recognized the title of this, you probably may have listened to it, but we're doing a blast from the past. The 3 episodes that were listened to the most this year, I'm reposting them because you picked them. And I figured if you picked them, you may want to listen to them again, or we've got some new people that have come to the show that may want to know the 3 most top listened to podcasts of the year, and this one is number 2.
This is Dave Negri with Contractor's Secret Weapon, and today is another fine day in Florida. Sorry, I know some of you guys are up in the winter and the snow. Today I have Al Levi with me, and I'm excited to talk to him because he is a former heating, air conditioning, and electrical guy. Had his own business, and worked for 25 years in his family business, created systems. And Al actually had put his stuff in place that enabled him to sell his share of his business to his brothers and retire before the age of 50. And, of course, retiring, in my thought, is to giving up some things that you don't want to do, to do some things that you do want to do. So now Al has written a book, and he does consulting and helps other companies become successful through the systems and the manuals that he created for his company that gave him a so-so early retirement. He's probably working harder now, aren't you?
Well, I enjoy what I do, so I'm living the phrase of if you do what you love,
right.
It's not really working.
Right.
And contractors will appreciate this, is that, the life that I led before I was lucky. It was, I was third generation. Our company started in 1936, and we also did plumbing, by the way.
Okay.
So it was 24/7, 365, and I don't mean because we just ran an ad. We literally had shifts on to cover those hours. There were real people there. It wasn't wake somebody up and come out, and it was nonstop. And it really was, the good news is I was making a lot of money. The bad news, it was killing me. So I had to change some things, and that was what this is all about. Is I created with the help of my others this 7 power concepts, which is the 7 things it takes to run a company. My dad had raised myself and my brothers from the time we were young teenagers to be in business meetings. So we got a big education from him. And the nature of it is that we also were serial entrepreneurs. Beyond that, we had a chain of liquor stores. We had an ice cream shop. We had multi-state real estate. But, the main golden goose was always the contracting business. And And that was really about the 7 things, which is planning, operations, staffing, sales coaching, marketing, and financial. Those are the 7 things. Because, Dave, as contractors, it feels like there's a million things we have to handle, a million things we have to do. And I know what that chaos is about, but it really boils down to the 7 things I just rattled off. And when I changed to be able to make those things systematic, the fact that I had all these people, they were now empowered to be of help to me and to themselves, and most importantly to our customers, in an even better way than we had been before. That's really what was the secret thing. So I decided, and this, I hope you'll appreciate this story, is most contractors, I would do it in seminars, because I do seminars and webinars and that nature, and I tell everybody, I said, so how long would you say a good employee would give you notice that they're leaving? 2 weeks? Maybe a week? I said, in my case, sometimes my employees would just leave the keys on the desk and I'd have to go find a replacement.
I've been there, yeah.
So I gave my brothers and my dad 3 years notice that I'd be leaving. 3 years. Let that wash over you for a second. So you'll know what kind of planner I am. Because I was not going to leave them high and dry. And I really test drove all the systems that we had put in place, the ability to create people who are willing with no skills into people that are willing with skills, and at all positions, not only the tech position, but inside the office and all the other kinds of things. And
right.
The backbone of that is the operations manuals. That's a one-of-a-kind thing that I spent 1 year of my life. I didn't take off the year. I spent it while I was doing all my other jobs. I sat with everybody, and even when I was out running calls and doing stuff, I would make notes to create an outline of all the things it took, all the tasks that our company had grown to do. And to create that backbone, I hired a writer, a good industry writer, Dan Holland, to help me run meetings. And we spent, about $100,000 in 1996 money.
Wow.
And hundreds of hours putting these manuals in so that the policies and procedures were in plain English. We got buy-in from the start from our staff from all these meetings. And we were a union shop, by the way. So if anybody's listening and saying, well, that's fine, it won't work here. My answer is I was a New York shop and a union shop at that. And trust me, I have been all over this country for the last 15 years doing one-to-one consulting with people. And now I'm switching that up to that where I'm going to be running these workshop where people can take manuals with me and show them how to do the same thing at their own companies. So cool. That's really the essence of what it is that I'm doing. But there's a lot more to it. And I want to be careful about how much I dive in here because I know you're in the lead. But I've got some exciting things to share about how you can really transform your company to make it a place that's attractive to come to work and that you surround yourself with people that you want to be with. It's a world of difference.
And it's while you were talking about, creating your systems before and putting books together and working in a union shop, of course, in, the 90s and so on. And I'm thinking about, what about today? I hear so many stories of people trying to attract the new generation, the millennials, and getting them to go to work for their contracting company, and some are just having a horrendous time. And
I know what you're speaking to. To that, if I can, I'll share. I also have a franchise for the Drain company. Myself and my partners is actually a client that I had been to back in 2005. Do you have a minute for me to tell the story?
Absolutely. Okay,
so in 2005, I'm do plumbing, heating, cooling, and I'd done some drain work, or at least I thought I had done drain work. A plunger and but kind of snake and the rest of it. And I go and I have to tell you. And by the way, this is not telling the story I tell. They know this story. So I get a call from these guys in Philly, 2 young brothers. They're in their 30s, and all they do is drain work, and they're telling me that they do. Whatever specialized drain work. And I'm thinking, yeah, right. It's the lowest job that there is in my snotty opinion of plumbing, heating, and air conditioning, and even electrical, And so I get down there, and they're walking around, they're dirty, and they're disorganized, pretty much what I expect. But then I sit down with Jim and Jason to create the manuals for them, and I am getting an education that I had no idea. There is science to drain work, and the way they do it with water jetting and Camry and stuff was just incredible to me. Wow. And that's the joy of this whole thing. And so the funny part of this is Jim, who's the visionary, says to me, he goes, Al, this is only like 2 months into the process, Dave, so get the picture. He says to me, something I would love to license and franchise this. And I look at him in a snarky New York attitude and go, franchise this? How about if we just get the guys dressed today, get them to meetings, clean up the trucks? And we obviously, here's the good story here. Within 2 to 3 years, we had done everything. We had gotten to the point where we had training centers and built new guys and meetings, and guys were dressed in this profession, clean and neat. I mean, working in white shirts.
Wow.
And staying neat all day long and doing all these things. And so I'm not a contractor, consultant for life. I said, we're all good. And then I go off, and then my good friend Ellen Rohr is the mom of Ben Franklin Plumbing franchise. Okay. And so she finishes her work there, and she and I had worked together for many years. And she says to me, Al, do you know any clients that might be interested in franchising? And I said, sure do, Al. There's matter of fact, you work with them, Zoom Drain in Philly. So I call up Jim, and I go, Jim, remember you said you had that, desire someday to own a franchise? You still interested? And there's a pause, and Jim says, I've been waiting by the phone all this time for you to call. So the rest, as they say, is history. And we've got a franchise down in Orlando and up in New England and down in Long Island, in my old stomping ground. So it's really great. But you know what's so great about that, Dave, is they are the living, breathing, the manuals, the staffing systems that are put in place, all of the other things, the weekly meetings, to be working on the top 5. Everything that I preach is living and breathing in them. And it brings me back to this. Here's the close of the loop. They have nothing but young guys, young millennials. They bring in young, willing people who want to build a career, not have a job. Most people who tell me, these kids are not motivated, the rest of the young kids, and they're not motivated because we as leaders have failed. We are not painting the vision of where they can go in this company. And they want more. And it's not new. Everybody thinks this is new, so I'll take you back, if you will. When I arrive at my shop, and I tell my dad, well, why don't the guys do this? And why don't they do this? And my dad says to me, sorry you weren't born 30 years earlier, because maybe you could have done that, but nobody's doing anything around here unless they know what happens to them in a good way or what happens in a bad way. Yeah. And that was an education I got early on. So here's the rest of that story. Is the guys from the Vietnam era were just ahead of me when I arrived, and the fellow Tommy was one of them. And he's talking to me because we're training new candidates back in the 90s, and he's telling me these kids have no work ethic, they just want to play around, they're not that interested. And I said, Tommy, it's funny because the old guys used to say the same thing about you and the rest of your career. Yeah. And so the essence of this is Zoom is one example of all of the companies that I work with today that take good young millennials and show them there's a career path. And if you don't have a great organizational chart that shows where am I today and where can I go tomorrow, they're not going to sign in. Now, they may bring their shoes to your door, but their heart and soul is not there. Right. What you must have is heart and soul.
So it's another way. And from what I'm hearing you say is what you're doing is you're creating a team that's buying in to the whole company and the future of the company. It's not a job.
And for themselves, that this is where I want to be.
Right.
My dad had a great line is employees vote with their feet. Every day they decide to either be here or be elsewhere.
Right.
I think that's a great way to see it.
Wow. That is really awesome. So... This is just amazing, and a lot of it had to come with you creating the manuals from the business that you were running with your dad and creating all that process. And how long? This is just how long does it take, like, for you to walk into a company, let's say, and they're a decent-sized company, I don't know, 10, 12 employees, and I'm sure most of the time when you walk into something like that, they're pretty much flying by the seat of their pants and it's chaos. How long does it take to help them create that system to get it up and viable in place? And, of course, they're going to have to tweak it on a regular basis.
Right. Well, there are two types of companies that I've worked with over the 15 years that I've been doing this job now. And they're usually one of two flavors. One is they are fast growers, and it's nothing but chaos every moment of the day.
Yeah.
So they've got this great house built on a really bad foundation or no foundation at all.
Right.
And my job is to come in, Dave, and put a foundation under that company so that control can come back in. It's not chaos every moment. There's a plan, and we work the plan. So first thing I do is planning power, which is teaching them how to get a master project list, their top 30, and work on the top 5, which make all the difference. Of one of the top 5 is always the operations manual, which are my manuals.
Uh-huh.
And they're pretty much 90 to 95% of the way that they need to have them. We just make some adjustments to better fit their company. And I've worked with roofing and photographers, and believe it or not, it's still pretty much the same.
Yeah,
business is pretty much the same.
Yeah,
you got to answer a phone, dispatch, do the rest of it. And so I fix those areas right out of the start, and then we move on to staffing if that's what needs to be done. Which is, I teach them how to leverage the manuals. I have one-of-a-kind building blocks for training people all the way up from apprentice to junior tech, senior tech, to field supervisor, and on up.
Uh-huh.
And so it's also hands-on training center. I built hands-on training centers forever, and now I've been all over the place building training centers everywhere we go. It's not the training center alone. I'm not talking about a room. I'm talking about hands-on, where you can create the problems that people will encounter in the field. If you're in plumbing, it's toilets, sinks, faucets, showers. If it's heating, it's whether it's warm air or boiler, whatever. It's working, breathing, and you can simulate all the problems. So by the time they get in the field, a tech can do the 3 most important things, which is talk to customers, communicate. And today that means selling.
Right.
Good. What's in the customer's best interest, and what I call ethical selling. No one will ever hear that I want you to sell anybody anything that's not in their best interest.
Right.
But you are there to serve them. You are the one that's the expert. And it's your job to take the blinders off and look around. Not just to fix the handle on the toilet that you know is 30 years old.
Yeah.
You'll be back tomorrow fixing a flapper. Or not that you can change an air filter out when you know you really need to change a unit out. Those are the things that we train right from the beginning, because ultimately that serves people best. The fact of the matter is, most couples these days, 2 of you got to go to work, and you have good, high-paying job. Nobody wants to take home time to go hang out with their plumbing, heating, cooling, electrical guy. So you got to fix it right the first time, and a lot of times that means selling the right things and doing the right repair. So sales, operation, technical are the skills that you must train. And that's where a good sales system, which I have, is another thing that really helps to ratchet it up. But at the backbone of it all, it's really the manuals. The operations manual, which define the policy and procedures. And they say with the way I'm doing it today is this Build Your Operating Manuals workshop. That's where people will be doing kind of what I used to do when I came to their shop. So the answer to your question is, the fastest anybody ran through all of my programs, Dave. And not everybody goes through all of the programs,
right?
Because it depends on what level they're at. I've had somebody do it in 18 months, and they've gone from $9 million to $32 million in sales. Not just because of me, but because they were great guys. They just needed to get the foundation in.
Right.
I've had guys, typically, like the Zoom guys I was talking about, we had done everything in 3 years. Because it's not how fast you shove programs out, it's how well you get them in. So I don't just come there and pull up and change my residence and hang out with you. And never leave. So that was not it. You've got to be able to do these things and get each one of them in, because they build on each other. A good way to see this. Imagine a pyramid. And the higher and bigger you want that pyramid and the longer you want it to last, it starts at the bottom of the pyramid, not at the top.
Right.
So the better the base. And what the 7 power concepts are, those big blocks, the better those blocks are, which is planning, which means working on the right thing at the right time, the right way. That's what planning power is. Operating power is having the manuals that handle 80%. Nothing's going to cover 100% of what goes on, but handling the 80% of the policies and procedures for each of the boxes on your org chart, the things that go on. So it's replicable, and people can be empowered from the day they show up. And then it's staffing, which is, again, building, young, willing people into skilled, willing people and giving them a career path. And then it's sales, having a sales system for both techs and also for big-ticket salespeople. And if you're in commercial, like I was, what I call a commercial sales agent, to a person who could go door to big places, open up accounts, keep them happy, and keep them buying from you, which is critical. So there's sales process for that. That's another block. Sales coaching, which is coaching the right things so that you get the right rewards, and they win, but ultimately always the customer first wins.
Right.
Marketing, which is what you're seeking as a contractor, is the right amount of calls from the right customer at the right time, the three rights of marketing. And so beyond that is financial, which is, you can do all of it when I rattled off. And if you don't charge enough, and if you're not careful about your expenses, it doesn't matter everything else I said, you won't be in business.
Yeah, I call it the leaky bucket syndrome.
Yeah, exactly right. And sometimes you're lucky if it's just a leaky bucket. It's exploded water heater.
Yeah, I've never heard that one, but yeah, I heard one guy, he said, some days you're the bug and some days you're the windshield.
Yeah, that's good. I think that's a country song. Yes, it is. It applies.
I'm going, whoa, that was he was a plumbing contractor, but that was kind of funny. So how did you come up with the idea of your book?
I actually, when I changed for me, it's hard to remember when you're making this change because you're in the midst of craziness.
Yeah.
My kind of day was I could wake up at 5 a.m., get back home at 2 a.m., get my 3 hours of sleep, but I never was really sleeping because the phone next to my head was going to ring from the guys who were on the on-call shift that were stuck. Yeah. And I was mad as heck at them for calling and waking me up.
Sure.
But it was me, Dave. That's the awful truth of being an owner. I never gave them enough information. I never documented it. And they were in a position where they had to call me.
Yeah.
And it was really kind of crazy when my brother Richie and I wrote up the manual with them. We defined, do these three things before you call Al or Richie. And 50% of the calls went away.
Wow. I was in a continuing education class one day, and the guy was a remodeling contractor, and his guys would call him all the time. Lucky for him, it was just normal business hours, so it wasn't like 24/7 like yours was. But he'd finally get to the point, and he goes, "What would you do if I wasn't there?" And they go, "But no. I want you to think about. Give me the answer. What would you do if I wasn't there?" And he said, you ask them that question enough times, they come up with the answer.
I agree. And actually in seminars when I teach guys about how to train staffing power, is if you ask a question and you answer it on your own, why should I think?
Right.
So if you ask a question, shut up and let them, and even if they guess wrong, give them a buck because they had the guts to speak up.
Right.
And you train them. I like that. I think that's a great way to do it. That's a really good first step.
Yeah, because it was just, so then he'd go, next time, think about this 3 or 4 times before you call me. And he said he cut his calls down. He said, I got some, but he said it was nowhere near what I got before. And it's like you said, it's just, it goes back to the training.
Yes, but part of the thing, though, is we're going to speak to a deeper level issue. So why didn't I share all this information? Why didn't I do all of this stuff was the question that came home. And one day, this fellow I was talking about, Dan Hollihan, who was an industry giant in the heating as well as everything else. And I was one of the lucky guys that he actually rode in my truck. And he's in my truck. I know this is going to date me, but my phone was ringing, my page was going off, and they're looking for me on the radio. And My friend Dan looks over at me while I'm driving and goes, "You think that's normal, don't you?" And I stop for 1 second and I go, "Yeah, I do." And then I said, "I hate it." And then 1 second later I said, "But I'm indispensable." And my chest popped up and I realized that was it. That was it. We as owners, first of all, what made us great is what sabotages us.
Right.
We're great techs, so we were great at whatever that thing was, or great sellers and the rest of it, and nobody else can do the job as well as us, which I'm not saying is untrue, but you really can't have people help you, and you can't grow because you have automatically jammed the lid on the pot.
And you can't have the business run without you, and you
can't go on vacation.
Right.
You can't get sick. You are absolutely on target with all of that.
Yeah.
So unless you are willing to change your way. So here are the 3 syndromes that I finally pointed the finger back at me. So are you ready?
Yeah.
I liked being rescuer. I liked running to the rescue.
Okay.
And I liked coming in and being, to pull it out of the thing. And I liked being the fireman. What I didn't realize is I also was helping to set the fires that I could put out.
That's awakening, huh?
And here's the last one. Coming from New York, this one will make sense. I like being the guru. Because here's how it went, Dave. Dave, you don't know how to do that? Really? You know what? I know it. Would you like to know? Because I'll be happy to share the information.
Yeah.
So I was operating, and when I explained this to contractors I've worked with over the years, they, to their credit, finally go, "Yep, I get it." And that is what you have to deal with first. Because even with manuals, even with the training center and everything else that we can do, and the marketing systems, because every one of these things are a system. If you're not willing to give up those 3 identities, you are automatically sabotaging everybody who's trying to help you.
That's say that again, because that's profound.
If you are not willing to give up being the rescuer, fireman, guru like I was, you are automatically sabotaging those who are there to help you, or anybody who will arrive to help you.
Wow. That was a big aha moment, huh?
It was a big aha moment, and I thank my friend for sticking the truth mirror in my face.
Yeah, wow. It's amazing that and it's that's one of the things too, is that we are in our own businesses are so in the weeds we can't see what's going on, and it takes someone like you or someone to come along and say, like your friend did, he could see beyond the weeds because he wasn't in the depths of it.
I like that analogy really. It's really important for that. And, even to this day, Ellen Rohr, who's the one I was mentioning before, she has a consulting business and we work together, and she's also in the franchise with me. We have a meeting where she and I and her sister, it's Alan, Gail, and Elle, which is HE, and we meet and we look at each other's business, even though we talk to each other all the time. That meeting is all about looking at from things that we haven't done. And every time we have that meeting every year, all 3 of us, our business grows and gets better to this day after all these years.
Wow, that's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
That you could have someone that would help you, that you could go to. And a lot of times, most of us are afraid to unravel the things before us because we'll feel we'll get ridiculed. But it's dealing with people who are like-minded and think alike and want the best interests for you that you can do that with.
Yeah. It's interesting, though, when you mention it that way, Dave, is think about it. When you go to a doctor for your health care checkup or if you're in need, would you not take your clothes off? So, at the end of it, it's the same thing with your business, which is you can't see it home. And I'll give you, guys who are listening to this think, well, yeah, I can see it. Here's what I bet you. How many times have you gone to another company that you don't own, and by the time you walk through the door and spend 30 minutes there, you know what's broken?
Yeah.
But I bet you do.
Oh.
Why is that? Why is that? Because you're not emotionally invested in it.
Uh-huh.
And that's why it's so hard for any individual to do it all on your own, to think that you can see your own business the way you need to. And that's why there's outside people that, they're the doctors. That's really what it is.
Right. That's awesome.
The business.
So I know that you do a lot of consulting, and if someone wanted to learn your signature 7 Power Contractor system, how do they get a hold of you? How do they reach you?
The best thing they can do is go to my website, which is 7 powercontractor.com, 7powercontractor.com. And there's two things. There's and you'll see plenty about there's videos and testimonials from clients and such. Not because I need it for my ego, but I know you need to hear from other people that it's been done.
Right.
I don't do one-to-one consulting like I did before. What I'm doing now is you have two things when it comes to me. One is you can go there to the shop and buy this book that's 7 Power Contractor. There's an ebook for $9.99 and there's a paperback.
We'll put
$24.95.
Links on the website.
I wrote it. I made it short for a reason. We are incredibly busy. I'm asking for 4 hours, and if you're a quick reader, 2 hours of your life.
Okay.
Because it changed my life, and it will change your life, not because I wrote it, and I had a good editor help me do it. We really worked hard to make it less. It's easy to make it fat. It's way hard to make it thin and effective.
I know. It's amazing, isn't it?
Yes.
I did a 39-second video, and that's what I call it, a 39-second video. And it took me 2 hours to create it.
Oh, yeah. I know that, exactly. And the other thing is I am doing, starting June, I'm going to be running for 10 contractors an exclusive program, which involves pre-care and then 2-day workshop and then aftercare, where we're going to take my manuals, which are 90-95% of what a plumbing, heating, cooling, electrical company would need, and customize these manuals to fit them. Because it's a fraction of what I spent, and it's really the best thing that you can do to get these systems in place, because without it, you're going to be stuck. And it's guys have tried to write it on your own. Even if you could, Dave, your chances of getting it in the right way and getting buy-in. I've been up the mountain. What I see myself is as a trail guide. Yeah,
and you've done it. You know what it takes, and I think that for the most part, most people are, all right, let me buy it, fill in the blanks, and we'll go from there. To a certain point. And then you always have to put in, what's apropos to what your complete system is. But for the most part, and that's cutting time out is what it's doing.
It is. And do we have another minute or two?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no.
One of the books that Dan Allahan and Ellen Rohr that we were spoken about way back when, they told me, you got to read this book, and it was in the 90s. It was Michael Gerber's E-Myth.
Uh-huh. That's excellent.
Yeah, and that book told me why things weren't working and what to do. It didn't tell me how, but it was the first time that I had heard that, if you're only working in the business and never working on it, nothing's going to change. And that was when I set about to create these systems. And that was really a catalyst for the manuals, because he described this hotel that worked like automatically, and I said, that's what I want my business.
Right.
And so that's what I set off to do. So it was one of those books that really changed me, and that's really kind of the essence of it. But it wasn't out there, so I had to create it. And the good news is I hired somebody to help me, and it's way better than it even was 15 years ago. What I left out was, that I mentioned it was $100,000 in all the hours. We paid all of that back in 2 years at my company.
Oh, I'm sure. Just
in 2 years.
Yeah. And that's amazing. So
productivity, minimal callbacks, insurance claims, all of the things that we did. Now it got even better. As I said, we started to build on top of it with the organizations and better meetings. There's a lot more things that go to it. But that's really the kind of the backbone or essential, if you will.
Cool. That's awesome. This has really been awesome. I think we're going to put all of your contact information on our webpage when. All right, awesome. This has been great. It was really fun talking with you about everything, and we'll look forward to getting you back.
Again, I want to thank you for joining us and investing your time with us today. I hope you enjoyed this week's episode, and if you did, go to iTunes and give us a shout-out. You can also go to our website, www.contractorsecretweapon.com, and check out today's episode and leave us a comment in the bottom of the page. And if you haven't gotten your 15 secret weapon strategies to getting higher-end customers, get it while you're at the website. Also, I want to thank again our sponsors for keeping this podcast alive for your profit-making pleasure. And so go be profitable this week. Work smarter, not harder, and learn how to leverage your time and your knowledge so that you can be more profitable. Again, see you next week.
Thanks for joining us for another weekly episode of the Contractor's Secret Weapon Podcast with Dave Negri. We would love to hear your comments about this episode, so visit us online at www.contractorsecretweapon.com and let us hear your thoughts. If you were listening via iTunes, please leave us a positive review. The more positive reviews we receive, the more other contractors will benefit from this show. Thank you, and see you next time here on the Contractor's Secret Weapon Podcast.